it doesn't look coordinated anymore. One side steps back, and the other keeps moving forward. And that's where the tension begins, because when allies stop moving in sync, it's not strategy, it's divergence. Right now, the United States is pulling back, reducing visibility, lowering direct engagement, shifting toward diplomacy, pressure, containment. While Israel is still pushing forward, strikes continue, operations expand, objectives remain active. Same war, two different directions, and that raises a dangerous question. If the paths are splitting, what's the end game? Because wars don't just depend on enemies, they depend on alignment. And when alignment weakens, outcomes become unpredictable. At the beginning, everything made sense. Shared objective, shared threat, shared momentum, hit hard, disrupt the system, force a new reality. But that kind of unity doesn't last forever, because each player enters the war with different incentives, different limits, different timelines, and over time, those differences surface. The US is playing a global game, multiple regions, multiple priorities, multiple risks. Every move has ripple effects. Energy markets react, allies respond, adversaries reposition. So for the US, this isn't just about Iran, it's about balance, stability, control across a wider system, which means escalation has a ceiling. There's a point where pushing further costs more than it gains. And when that point gets close, you step back, not because you're done, but because you're recalculating. That's what you're seeing now, a shift from force to management. But Israel's position is different. For Israel, this isn't global, and it's immediate, direct, existential. The threat isn't theoretical, it's close, persistent, embedded in the region. So the strategy changes, less about balance, more about elimination. Remove the threat, reduce future risk, create long-term security, and that kind of objective doesn't align with stepping back early. It demands continuation, pressure, completion. Even if the cost increases, that's where divergence happens. Same war, different priorities. And when priorities diverge, strategies follow. Now you have one ally managing the system and another trying to reshape it. One pulling toward stability, the other pushing toward resolution, and those two directions don't always align, because stability slows things down, resolution speeds things up, and you can't fully do both at the same time. That creates friction, not visible conflict, but strategic tension. Decisions become harder, coordination becomes weaker, because every move now has to consider two timelines: short-term survival, long-term balance. And those timelines don't always agree. This is where the situation becomes dangerous, not because the war is escalating, but because it's fragmenting, and fragmented strategy creates gaps. Gaps in coordination, gaps in expectation, gaps in control, and gaps are where unpredictability enters, because when one side moves further than the other expects, the system reacts faster, more chaotically, more unpredictably. Now think about the endgame. What does victory even look like here? For the US, it might mean containment, prevent escalation, maintain influence, avoid long-term entanglement. For Israel, it might mean elimination, remove threats, reshape the environment, ensure future security. Those are not the same outcome. One accepts the system as it is and tries to manage it. The other tries to change it completely. And that difference matters because endgames are built on objectives. And if the objectives don't match, the endgame doesn't either. So what happens next? There are only a few paths. 1. Israel continues forward, expands operations, pushes toward its objective, while the US stays partially disengaged, managing fallout, containing spread. That creates a longer conflict, more pressure, more cost. 2. The US re-engages, aligns fully again, supports escalation. That increases intensity, but also increases risk, global risk, systemic risk. 3. Israel adjusts, slows down, aligns with U.S. positioning, but that requires accepting incomplete outcomes, and incomplete outcomes are hard to accept in a conflict like this. Each path carries trade-offs, no clean solution, no perfect alignment, just different levels of risk. That's why this moment matters, because the war isn't just about what's happening on the battlefield. It's about what's happening between allies, how they align, how they diverge, how they adapt. Because alliance strength is part of strategy, and when that strength shifts, everything else follows. So don't just watch the strikes, watch the movement. Who is stepping back? Who is stepping forward? Who is recalculating? Who is committing? Because that tells you more about the future than any single operation ever could. The war isn't just being fought against an opponent, it's being shaped within the alliance itself, quietly, strategically, in real time. And the outcome won't just depend on who fights harder, but on whether those fighting are still fighting toward the same end. Because if they're not, then the biggest challenge isn't the enemy, it's misalignment. And misalignment has ended more wars than defeat ever did. So the real question isn't just who wins, it's do they even agree on what winning looks like? Because if they don't, the war doesn't end. It just continues in a different form. If this changed your perspective, subscribe, because the next video might change your life.